Your knowledge of contract language is imperative.
You must know what a violation looks like if you wish to be active in its cessation.
It is important to understand that being active and knowledgeable affects your overall bargaining strength.
Together towards a more militant NALC.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier, with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of keeping city carrier duties within the craft and your rights surrounding those issues. Historically, city carriers have fought hard to define their work and draw the line to establish what is or isn't theirs. We have a proud history of defending our work and undertaking our job with passion and pride. This is why we are commonly established as pillars of our community, and why the public has such support for us. We need to protect our craft, especially with how hard management works to dismantle us. First, I would like to talk about the work being stolen by management from the city letter carrier craft. This could happen in any office, but I imagine it would happen most commonly in offices that are understaffed or small. Carriers, we need to do whatever it takes to keep the sanctity of our craft intact. Management is working in our craft, and it is covered under Article 1 of the National Agreement. Article 1, Section 6 of the National Agreement prohibits supervisors from performing any bargaining unit work except in very limited circumstances. Section 6A states, Section 6, Performance of Bargaining Unit Work. A. Supervisors are prohibited from performing bargaining unit work at post offices with 100 or more bargaining unit employees except 1. In an emergency, 2. For the purpose of training or instruction of employees, 3. To assure the proper operation of equipment, 4. To protect the safety of employees, or 5. To protect the property of the USPS, all of which have a high burden of proof for management to substantiate. The USPS NALC Joint Contract Administration Manual, which explains the national parties' agreed upon interpretation of the National Agreement, states in part the following in regard to the above provisions. The prohibition against supervisors performing bargaining unit work also applies to acting supervisors, 204Bs. The PS Form 1723, which shows the times and dates of the 204B detail, is the controlling document for determining whether an employee is in a 204B status. A separate PS Form 1723 is used for each detail. A single detail may not be broken up on multiple PS Form 1723s for the purposes of using a 204B on overtime in lieu of a bargaining unit employee. Article 41.1.A.2 requires that a copy of the PS Form 1723 be provided to the union at the local level. An acting supervisor, 204B, may not be used in lieu of a bargaining unit employee for the purposes of bargaining unit overtime. An employee detailed to an acting supervisory position will not perform bargaining unit overtime immediately prior to or immediately after such detail on the day he or she was in a 204B status unless all available bargaining unit employees are utilized. However, an employee may work bargaining unit overtime otherwise consistent with the provisions of Article 8 on the day before or the day after a 204B detail. That was from M Document 1177. An emergency is defined in Article 3.F as an unforeseen circumstance or a combination of circumstances which calls for immediate action in a situation which is not expected to be a recurring of nature. Most of the time, management has a hard time actually substantiating Article 3.F emergencies because most of the time it's not an emergency. Article 1, Section 6B addresses supervisors performing bargaining unit work in offices with fewer than 100 bargaining unit employees and reads as follows. B. In offices with less than 100 bargaining unit employees, supervisors are prohibited from performing bargaining unit work except as enumerated in Section 6.8.1 through 5 above, or when the duties are included in the supervisor's position description. So the only difference between 100 bargaining unit employees or more and 100 bargaining unit employees or less, it's all the same except for they include additional stuff that's within the supervisor's position description. Branches that wish to determine whether a post office has 100 or more bargaining unit employees should contact the business agent for the region. Step 4 Settlement M21 provides that, except in accordance with Article 1, Section 6 of the National Agreement, an employee in a 204B status as a supervisor shall not perform bargaining unit work while he or she is in the 204B status. Form 1723 Assignment Order is the controlling document to be used in determining whether an employee is in a 204B status. Furthermore, the Step 4 Settlement M755 reads that in accordance with Article 41, Section 1.8.2 of the National Agreement, Form 1723 shall be provided to the union at the local level, showing the beginning and ending times of the detail. Such copies of Form 1723 should be provided to the union in advance of the detail or modification thereto. Here are some other Step 4 decisions related to Article 1.6.A and B of the National Agreement. M Document 336 states that the Postal Service reaffirms its intent that supervisors will do as little bargaining unit work as possible, and that such work will be performed only under the strict limitations of Article 1, Section 6. M Document 202 provides that changing of collection box labels should be performed by bargaining unit employees, and that supervisors will refrain from performing bargaining unit work except as specifically provided for in Article 1.6 of the National Agreement. M Document 832 and 974 provide that where the phrase distribution tasks or may personally perform non-supervisory tasks is found in supervisor's job description, this does not include casing mail into letter carrier cases. The provisions for distributing mail, as contained in a supervisor's position description, refer to clerk duties and not the routing of mail into a carrier's case. M870 provide that general delivery and pickup of express mail is bargaining unit work. M205 provides that the supervisor has been instructed to discontinue placing the mail in question on the carrier's ledge. M540 states that except in emergency, a supervisor should not transport a member to his or her route. The appropriate remedy for a grievance alleging a violation of those provisions would be to pay the employees whom management should otherwise have assigned the work for all the time that the supervisor or 204B spent performing bargaining unit work. The remedy should be calculated at what would have been the applicable pay rate had the employees been able to perform the work, even if it results in overtime or penalty overtime. Alright, so next, I would like to talk about working off the clock. Oftentimes, we as stewards walk in the morning and we see carriers working before they've even punched in. Sometimes it's casing, sometimes it's checking their vehicle, and sometimes I have even seen people work through their breaks. Supervisors are taking a blind eye toward these things, and you should be paying attention to that. They do not want what's in our best interest. It's in their best interest to steal whatever they can from us, and they do this here by turning a blind eye, and sometimes even encouraging it. For the life of me, I cannot understand why anyone would want to work for free. All they're doing is showing that their routes are less than 8 hours, and management will add time to their assignments. Over the years, we have gone through route count inspections where assignments have been lost or routes have been given additional street time. The National Agreement has language that specifically states management should not allow employees to work off the clock. This includes allowing employees to work through their breaks. The National Agreement states in part, supervisors shall not require nor permit employees to work off the clock. And in C Document 8555, National Arbitrator Britain ruled that the Postal Service must ensure that all employees stop working during office breaks. Contractual breaks must be observed and cannot be waived by employees. Either management's allowing carriers to work off the clock, thereby receiving no pay for work performed, or carriers are volunteering to do it. In either case, it is wrong and it must stop. The situation is simple to correct. File a grievance. Any carrier willingly performing work without being paid is not only violating the contract, which we don't have a choice to do so, but they are also hurting their fellow carriers. Why work for free when you should get paid what you're worth? When any letter carrier works off the clock, several adverse situations occur. First, when a carrier works off the clock or during a stand-up talk, the time is not credited as time allotted for the assignment or route. Therefore, the time for the talk or the work done off the clock will not be included for the daily time for the route. Information will not, in all probability, be able to be properly adjusted to the routes. In essence, the carriers who work off the clock have successfully taken time away from the route that cannot be accounted for. This is especially an issue because we're going to be agreeing to some sort of joint route adjustment process, and either way, a lot of times we can use prior route times. This not only hurts the carrier assigned to the route, but the overall office as well. This includes potential full-time carriers, part-time flexibles, and city carrier assistants wishing to become career. The second adverse thing that occurs when a carrier works off the clock, it may deprive other carriers of having 8-hour days or 40-hour weeks and possible overtime. This occurs because the hours a carrier works off the clock does not get recorded as work hours unless assistance is used in the office. This hurts us when it comes to staffing as well because the budget is built based on what we used for the next time. So you're really hurting yourself, and this especially happens on the clerk side, which I know is not our business, but I did recently file a grievance for that. If anyone's dealing with staffing issues on their clerk side that is leading to PTFs or CCAs working on the clerk side, make sure you file a grievance if it's leading to other grievances. For example, I cross-referenced Article 17, where they didn't give steward time, or Article 8, where they mandated people, or even ELM 43232s or other limitation grievances. I cross-referenced them with the days that the CCAs were working in the clerk craft and used the excuse that they are not being properly staffed, and that if they were properly staffed, these CCAs would be actually on the carrier side, and these grievances never would have occurred, or violations didn't have to occur. That's in Article 3, by the way. Anyway, when less assistance is used in an office than actually needed, more auxiliary assistance is available, thus fewer hours are available for the overtime desired list or work assignment carriers. In addition to that, carriers who work off the clock may contribute to more pivoting either in the office or street. This is due to work that was done on a route off the clock, preventing the route from having an 8-hour day. This may force a carrier on a route to have insufficient work on their assignment for an 8-hour day, consequently making them have to work on another assignment. Lastly, any carrier who works off the clock discredits the hard work of other carriers. It will appear that they have a better performance than all the other carriers who do not undermine their wages and work rules. The union negotiates wages and work rules. They are agreed to by the United States Postal Service. No one should violate these rules. Shop stewards, you must enforce this contract, but it is everyone's responsibility to protect these rules. If you're working off the clock, it must stop for the sanctity of our careers. Any carrier who knows of another carrier working off the clock should inform their steward, and any shop steward worth their weight in turn should inform the supervisor and file a grievance. The supervisors need to follow the national agreement. If management fails to do their job, then file a grievance in accordance with Article 41.3K to stop the carriers. And carriers, please don't understand this to be pity. This is for the protection of our jobs and our careers. If we go through a route adjustment process and we lose a route, most of us have in our LMOU that every route underneath that person, seniority, has to be rebid. So that is monumentally an issue. And that is the most damaging thing to morale that can happen. Like when Warren in my area just recently lost 20 routes. Losing routes is damaging enough, but then having to rebid is awful. Most carriers want to keep their bids. So this is monumentally important. Please do not get mad at your stewards for filing this grievance if you're working off the clock. You need to stop. It is serious. We need to protect the sanctity of our job, especially now in this time where they're trying to make the argument that we don't even have the volume. If you do everything you need to do every day, then you'll be over 8. And that might be why some of you are working off the clock. But this is not an excuse. Put in the auxiliary assistance form and get another route added. Because at the end of the day, we all know these routes are actually overburdened, not under. Especially if you do all the things that you need to do in the handbooks and manuals. Additionally, the M41 Handbook, City Carrier Duties and Responsibilities, Section 112.26 states that do not report at cases or racks before tour of duty is scheduled to begin or linger about cases or racks after tour of duty has ended. What this means is that letter carriers should not be in their immediate work location either before or after their scheduled tour of duty. Now this, I don't think, needs to necessarily be enforced unless carriers are working off the clock. Most of the time it does happen either before their shift starts or after. So this is one thing that you'll have to stand to lose if you decide to continually violate the contract and hurt the sanctity of your route counts and your route times and hurt your brothers and sisters. Then we're going to have to, be back to grade school and have to stay away from it, because that's the easiest way for management to make sure that nobody is working either pre-tour or post-tour. Anything work-related, including the rearrangement of mail distributed to cases and similar tasks, is always performed on paid time only. The mail that is sitting at letter carrier cases is not going anywhere and will still be there after a letter carrier is on official time. There is simply no reason to ever perform any work-related function while off the clock. What is your hurry anyway? Lastly, I'd like to talk about something a little unrelated. I have a message for the stewards. Recently, I was having a conversation with a very dedicated and enthusiastic steward from Louisiana. He has been contacting me about a grievance concerning undertime and pivoting. By the way, he is doing a fantastic job. You should see the contentions in his first case file. They are beautiful. He is very, very dedicated to being the best that he can be, even to a fault. He's trying to make his very first case perfect, and he won it. Congratulations. I'm glad you did. But in his contentions for his second case, an issue statement, I noticed his citation was in reference to Postal Operations Manual 617.2, and it was supposed to be about pivoting. It didn't seem quite right, so I looked it up, and it had to do with packages instead. I asked him about it. I said, hey, your AI is drunk. I didn't know if he was using AI or not, but he said he wasn't. He said he got that language straight from M document 1292, which, by the way, if you're doing undertime grievances or pivoting grievances, take a look at M document 1292. It's a very good document. And it does, in fact, reference Postal Operation Manual 617.2 as the pivoting section. This is because it was written in the 90s. And that M document was. And it has since, that handbook has since been revised. The new and correct section is either 645 or 646, depending on what you're looking for. This is an important lesson. Every citation you decide to copy from another source, whether it's an arbitration or an M document or whatever the case may be, even if you're getting it from somebody, you always want to double check whether or not it was in fact the correct citation and whether or not it actually has to say what they say that it says. Typically, We are only allowed to use what is in the case file when it comes to Step B, or arbitration. So if you have the incorrect citation, because it has been since revised and changed to a different section, sometimes you may be precluded from using the correct citation, and a mistake of this magnitude may lose you your case. Now, if you've made a settlement with the incorrect citations, it's okay. Don't sweat. You're going to have to just start doing the correct thing in the future. Don't keep going with what you've already had. And sometimes you can account for this in contentions. Like, for example, if you signed like 100 cease and desists of 617.2 and it's actually 646, in the contentions for your next case that goes to Step B, you can reference the fact that you were, pulling that from M document 1292 and have since realized that it was in fact moved to section 646. So the intent of your settlements between the two parties was over actually section 646, not 617.2. They may or may not buy it, but whatever you do, just move forward with the correct information. That first case he did, I didn't realize it until it was too late. The second case, I saw it and I informed him of his issue. Now, hopefully, you learned something valuable today. And as always, have a good day.
Out to the Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God, we need Article 8 scholars right now. The Grievous Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball doing amazing work.
Brothers and sisters, this guy is good, man. He's fucking good.
And my boy Joshua, he killed it. Man, he's lockstep right now. He's killing it.